Welcome to Fitz Life Unfiltered with Jamie and Kim Fitzpatrick. Jamie and Kim will help you live abundantly, provide value and tips on achieving physical, mental, spiritual, and financial wealth while navigating this crazy thing we call life. Are you ready? Let's go.
I am so excited for this topic. It's my favorite.
We should have filmed it all. The prep that we were talking about.
Yes. All right.
We didn't.
First, we also want to say thank you for your feedback, for talking to us on Instagram or sharing the videos.
You need to bring back the reviews.
I do need to bring back the reviews.
Next time.
Yes. So I just want to say thank you. We appreciate it. And it's been really fun. So, all right. We are diving right in. Over to you.
Well, we have two kids, and they are now 13 and 16, right?
Almost
Isn't
14.
it crazy? I keep thinking when we kind of started as entrepreneurs, they were 3 and 6.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Oh.
How crazy is that?
It is crazy.
It goes fast. Anyway,
it goes really quickly.
And I was telling a story too of there's obviously, I always say, and the kids with newborns are going to want to punch me in the face, and the kids with a 3 and a 5-year-old are going to want to punch me in the face, because you always I guess maybe whatever age they are, you feel like it's the busiest time. And I do think
it is in that moment.
Oh, of course
I think for
it
each
is.
person,
It's
I
a
think
different
that's
type.
fair.
It's a different
each
type.
Each season brings a different type of parenting.
Your sister-in-law, your sister, my sister-in-law,
yeah,
Tiff. So that is such a a busy age for them. It's because it's just so hands-on,
right? But
the stage that we're in now,
can I add something in on that?
May.
So when we babysat the kids this past weekend, it was my sister's birthday.
Yeah.
And
we had them for the night.
We did. We had them for the night. My sister came over as well, Christy, and we were man-on-man defense. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I was in charge of being in the pool with crew. Christy was walking around the pool with Callie, and it was nonstop. It was like, okay, I need to keep them afloat. The puddle jumpers up, and it was just busy.
That's important.
And at one point, I time lapsed, and I could see it was just constant. There was zero, and I just acknowledged. So right now, I want to acknowledge the stage of that, because they have a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old, and I just want to acknowledge the busyness, and you forget when you're in a different season, you forget how you did that all. Mm-hmm. Whereas it's Tiff's whole season and it's her whole life, and she just loves it, and it's amazing, and she can't get our point when we know we can't understand their point anymore.
It's plate spinning. You're spinning it, you're going to there, you're spinning it. You just want to keep them all there.
Anyway, as soon as we got both kids down to sleep, Christy and I flopped on our bed and was like,
holy.
Oh my gosh. So just honoring parents in kids under 5.
Yeah.
Our hats go off to you, because it is such a season.
And now it's just a different type of busy, where the kids are, and you want them active, and I want them social, and I want them in clubs and sports and all the things they love, right? You want all those things. Yeah. And they are very, on top of the sports, they are very social kids. They're very social. They love their friends. And anyway, and so I was just telling the story of how I picked them up from football, and then I noticed for the first time, it's there's this mature, caring human being in there. Not that I didn't think that before, but he's getting into that man stage. Yeah. I mean, he's the size of a large man because he's tall and he's a football player and he's strong. He kicked the shit out of me now, which is scary. He's only 16. But I was tired and I picked him up for football. It was late at night, and he stopped and he got a sub, and he kind of said, he goes, are you okay? I said, oh no, I don't want a sub. He goes, no. He goes, are you okay? I said, what do you mean? He goes, Dad, you look a little tired. Are you doing okay? Are you okay? And I was it was goosebumps, right? It was the first time, not the first, but you really saw him be empathy and caring. Not that he doesn't before, but I think sometimes this goes back to the analogy of do they think we're not perfect? I'm going to sound wrong, and it's going to sound maybe egotistical, but I mean we always have to be the rock for them. At least I feel like that, and this goes to what we're going to share.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's because of a dad-father thing, raised in some kind of a masculinity and how we're supposed to be, and
right.
And I just always thought, I have to be this person, and maybe he views me that way. But in that moment, he was just he saw me as another person that he really cares about and loves, and he wanted to make sure I was okay.
I love that.
And it was that's the transition coming though.
Yeah.
Into the adulthood and a mature person who now is not just thinking about, oh, I got to play games at night. He's and maybe football's helping with that,
right?
Because he's learning he has to be responsible for other people and other things,
such leadership
and other parts. And football is it's not something I grew up with. I grew up with every other sport but that, and we had that in other sports, but not like this. It's a different kind of responsibility. And he's captain, and I just maybe that's where it's coming from. You know, he really feels like, oh, I actually get to lead and take care of other people now. And I have to have responsibilities, so it's really cool. And I wanted to share, because when we were talking about prepping for this episode, and we don't have to get into a lot of details, but, you know, after my cardiac arrest, which we don't need to get into detail, we've shared all that and stuff, and, you know, we've all have the T word from that. I feel like we say that word a lot, but...
we've moved through that though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we're good.
And you know, our kids obviously were affected by that. Both of them, you know, Tess for sure, who found me clearly. She's doing great though. Colby for sure. And you know, we tried him in a lot of sports growing up and a lot of different things. And I think we even tried him in karate, or was it judo or karate?
Karate, baseball.
Because he was
everything.
You know, we come from sports backgrounds, so that's kind of what we gravitated towards. And nothing was really clicking for him. And I don't want to say he was struggling. Oh, he's a great kid, you know, he's social, but he was looking for something. I could tell he was looking for something, right?
I think that's the perfect way to put it.
And you know, we all have our different struggles. I've had mine. You've had yours. You know, we've talked about a lot of them. And there was something I was really struggling with. He was, and was something I went through personally. And you and I made the decision that we thought he was mature enough. I don't even know why we made that call to tell him. Was it just
like
because
a lunchtime?
Was it just to bring it out into the light with the family? I think
so. With him, at least with Colby, it was like, hey, buddy, like. We already are such a tight-knit, close
He was
family,
13, I think.
But he was struggling. And I think we recognized that. We knew that there was something going on with him. Maybe struggle is not the right word.
No,
but there was something going on with him. And
Intuition.
we were like, hey, let's just make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
Like, we just wanted him to know we're here for you. You can tell us anything.
I think it was also part of my process, too.
Right.
It was like, hey, I think we should tell Colby.
You know? And I think too, we were also really concerned just too, wanting to make sure that he felt like he was fitting, and like we just wanted to make sure he was okay.
But I think in telling him, we didn't tell him because of the result that happened from it. That's not why we told him. This was a really cool byproduct of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? And so I sat him down. I was really vulnerable with him about it, and we shared with him. And I know I'm being, you know, discreet about it, but it's our family business. Yeah. And we shared it with him, and he, like, I don't want to over dramatize this, if that's a word, but he, like, you could see the click in him, and because he said, he goes, oh, that happened? Like that, like he really looked at me and was like, almost like, you know,
with empathy though.
Oh, with
it was
empathy.
More like, are you okay?
And Kyle, you and I talked about this when we were talking about what we're going to talk about, and he, it's like he, not that I was, and I don't know, because I don't think every parent is their child's hero. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think of my own father and when I was young and what I thought, but I think he had this.
I had mine on a pedestal.
Yeah, you did.
Know,
yeah. I think he, I guess maybe. He probably thought I was a certain way, worked out a lot, and, like, you know, got some attention on social media kind of with their company, and we were quote unquote successful, kind of, like, whatever that means. And so maybe he looked at me in a certain light that he couldn't live up to. I don't know. Like, Kyle kind of felt like that, so I don't mind saying that out loud.
I think he'd maybe agree. I think too, like, and obviously we shared this episode with Colby before it aired and it got approval and all the things.
Well,
like, hey, cool that. Well, no, exactly. Yeah. My point is that if you see this, he's approved.
Right.
So my point to that is that, like, I think too, he looked up to you. That's what usually typically happens in the relationships in the family.
In a healthy relationship.
In a healthy relationship and families of what the same sex parent, etc. Yeah. Not all the time, not just disclaiming.
They typically model the same
typically
sex.
If they do. And where in our situation, that's what we felt. So anyway, I think that was the power in that. And it was almost like the relief. I'll never remember the relief of just, and I think there's two things I want to add in, if I may. That number one is just like.
Forget the relief. You said you'll never remember the relief. It's okay.
I'll never forget the relief. I'll remember the relief.
Yeah.
Never forget his relief. But it was more so of like, thanks for being vulnerable. Like, thanks for just not being perfect.
Yeah, he didn't say that, but that's
what it felt like. It was like, he was like, oh, thank God you're a human. Like, okay, I can, like, shit, let's go. You know, like, this is good.
That's how it felt to us. And, like, And Kyle even said, he was like, do you think that was the point of the change? And I was like, I think it was.
Yeah, and he just made a decision at that moment in his life. Like, you know, he wanted to go to the gym and he wanted to take ownership of what he could control. And, you know, he wanted to feel good about himself and take care of himself. And he wanted to make the football team.
Yeah, it was a big goal.
It was a huge goal for him. And that was in April and he had till August. So I think that was really the catalyst, right?
Yeah. And he just, it was like just a shift in him.
Like 3 years ago. This was 3 years ago.
Yeah, but I think, and I listen, we're not marriage/parent experts or psychologists or therapists or anything like that. We're just sharing our experience, sharing our lived experience. I just think it's something I think parents need to think about. I think there's an age to do it. I think there's topics that you can and can not do this on with your kids. We trusted our intuition at the time. And I think it's okay sometimes to sit your family down and it's okay to tell them that you're struggling with stuff. Listen, and there's, like I said, there's going to be instances and stuff you don't want to say or do want to say. That's up to each family. But for us, I think my vulnerability for him, you know, and I'm probably more of a guy's guy. I'm not the most outward going. You know what I'm saying? Would you agree, Kim?
Yeah.
I can keep to myself sometimes, and I can keep my distance of people. Ooh. What? You don't think so?
I'm joking. Oh. You keep to yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
My little introvert.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm socially, situationally extroverted. But that, me sharing that with him, I think really, it kind of like got the pressure off in some way, I think. Oh, yeah. And it's not that we meant to do that to him. Like, you're just trying to, no, there's no manual. You're just trying to be the best parent you can. You're just trying to do it the right way, and you're going to fuck up and make mistakes, clearly. And we didn't mean to do that, but like that was a real pivotal moment for him. It's almost like it really changed him, don't you think?
Yeah.
And not trying to be dramatic, but like it really was.
You know, I think one of the things that resonated with me the most from this whole experience and after what happened for you and for us with your cardiac arrest is, and Sarah, love you. I'm going to give her a shout out. Dr. Sarah Sarkis, who's been a part of my life for a really long time. She's on my bench. I always say that she's on my bench, but she said to me something really important. It stuck with me forever. And we want to share this with those that are listening or those that are watching. Is she said, listen, you're only going to have 3 to 5 home runs with your kids in their lifetime. And I was like, explain what you're talking about. She's like, how you handled the situation when Tess found her dad and you went into action, home run. She saw that she could get you. There was a solution. You handled that. It was a home run. How you guys handled that was a home run.
Right.
And the rest of them are just batting. You're just batting. And you might get to first and you might get to second. And you're doing the very best you can. But to put the pressure on yourself as parents that you're constantly going to win, you're constantly going to hit home runs is actually setting you up to fail because there's no guidebook to parenting. And in fact, the more perfect you try to be, the more controlling, the more trying to make this so perfect, the more you're going to just mess it all up.
Right.
You know, so it's like giving yourself permission to, you know, I always say this. It's like when Colby was born, I was like, I'm just not going to stay stuck in that story. I can't anymore. And that's when the work started for me. So 16 years ago is when I really started. And then the second thing that happened for us.
Home runs.
Well, no, it's not even about the home.
Right.
Like, I didn't even know that was a home run at that point. That's just a decision you make, I think, as a parent of like, I'm either going to repeat history of how I was raised and what I don't want, or I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that trajectory by changing myself. And I had to change myself. And that, I always say to Colby, I'm like, we kind of raised each other. Like I was 28. Like I felt like I was the only first one of our friends to have babies and things like that. So, you know, I always say that to him. And then when Tess came along, that was interesting as having a little girl, because then I felt like, wow, I think for Colby, he taught me how to love unconditionally. I never knew what that even really meant until he came along. And then when Tess came along, I looked at her.
What about me?
You too. Yeah, you too. You do, you know. It's different when you're a mom, though, and parent. And it's a different relationship, right? Kidding. But when Tess came along, this was the big one for me. It was like, okay, I got to let go of the story of like the last 5 pounds or and the body shit that you go through, because I have a little I have a little girl that's listening, and a son. And that'll affect both of them. So for me, that was like decisions that I really needed to heal. And I think we always have those courageous conversations. And I have not been in a situation yet with our kids until about now where we're really kind of, even with Tess, just like going through her own change. She's going to be 14, like really starting to support her in,
You were talking about home runs, though. You said Sarah was like, you only get 3 to 5. I have so many baseball analogies in my head right now. Do you know? Let me ask you a question.
But I don't know whether that was a home run. I don't think me making a decision like I don't know which one was a home run. You're never going to know that. Like,
but her point was that you only do about 3 to 5 in life.
Yeah. So you might as well. So just be proud. Like your kids graduate, or they're successfully.
I have to ask you this question, not just because I'm curious. Because for an athlete, I know you don't watch sports, and that's fine.
Okay.
Do you know pickleball? Yeah, you're going to get into pickleball.
I am.
Yeah,
sure am. I'm just
right by our house.
I've been investigating best paddleboard.
It won't matter.
First paddleboard. Pickle paddles.
Paddle.
Yeah.
It's
good.
So do you know, like, if there's a certain batting average for a player over that batting average, it's a good, like, and it's a mark that, like, this guy bats this amount.
Okay.
Do you know what number that is?
30.
Well, it's close.
Okay, 40.
It's a percentage. It's 300.
Oh, geez.
Like
okay.
0.300.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a really good hitter in the major leagues, if you can hit the ball greater than 3 out of 10 times.
I love that. So that's the same thing with parenting.
So an average baseball player in the majors bats like 250, 230, 260.
Sure.
So that's only 25 out of 100 times that they're hitting the ball.
We're winning.
So
we're all winning.
But no, because it's kind of the same for parenting. Like you're just trying to bat about 300 most of the time if you can.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
I always say to Colby, I'm like, do not add to the population. Do not decrease the population.
Yeah. It's good advice.
What's my last one I say?
It's good advice. They're both really, really important.
Yeah. Do not get arrested.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Those are my three things.
Knock on wood here.
These are the three things. These are the three expectations. You do not add to the population. You do not deplete from the population, and you do not get arrested. It's like state of the news.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think also in me sharing that with him too, it also made me conscious that, oh man, I'm telling my kid this. Like, okay, like it was just a good reminder for me, right?
Yeah.
Of what I'm telling him, and like he knows, and like, dude, I'm real. That's okay. Like we all make mistakes. And it was nothing. Wasn't a mistake, but it was just something I went through.
So I think for us at the end of the day, when it comes to like parenting our children and building a business and being on social media, I'm really proud of how we handle a lot of things. And I feel like we aren't going to say the whole story. We don't ever need to say the whole story. It's just sharing a part of the story that we think can be an anchor for those that are watching and listening. And really, whether it be a lesson or something that might be a parallel in their life, but what I love about us is that, and I think it's a myth, like you don't have to share it all. You don't have to share it all. And I think there's power in that. It's beautiful that we've got a beautiful private life, and we also have a life that we share, and I love it, and I'm proud of us for that. I think it's never easy, not easy, like being on social and sharing parts of your life, but it's also beautiful, and some of the most vulnerable conversations we've both shared so much vulnerably. I love that you shared that today, because and it makes me emotional, because the courage you shared, and coming up on Father's Day, and the courage you shared just by being a human and being such a good dad. Yeah. And saying, hey, like, I struggle too, but like, I need you in this. And I think that's what it was like, we're in this together. And that's courage and bravery, because I believe that emotions are brave. And I grew up, I think we all did, right? Depending on what era you grow up in or what generation your parents are from. It's like children are better seen, not heard. And I think that's where we're trying to change that. You definitely wanted to change that. You wanted him to feel connected and safe. Yeah. And you felt connected and safe. Yeah. And I think it's powerful in that. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of how you handled it, because it gave both Colby agency of how he wants to lead this life. But I think it gave it, you were saying that it held you accountable too, right? And I want to close on this because it was really powerful.
and I'm going to give credit to Kyle because he saw this somewhere about like, and it made me really think like we tell our kids we love them a lot, right? Tell them we love them a lot, but he was saying like, do you tell them you like them? It's like, whoo! It's like, oh, it's so powerful.
You're getting emotional.
No, it's you get goosebumps from it because it's like, it's so drastically different. Of course you tell them you love them, but do you tell them you like them?
I love
that's
that.
like, that's almost more powerful.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it makes me conscious about what I say to them and how I say it and the conversations you have and like, tell your kids you like them.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Very good.
So
That's
cool.
good. Thank you. I'll get this every time. Thanks, everybody.
I love it.